Clemson going to Austin, Texas. Texas favored by 11.5, 4 p.m. Eastern, DKR on TNT. Quick sidebar here. What would it take to get the Inside the NBA crew on this game? Just asking for a friend like Ernie Johnson and Charles Barkley on the call. I don't even care they're basketball guys. I think that'd be electric, but I digress. If you're Clemson, man, you backdoored your way into this deal. You're not apologizing for it. Dabo's using the portal, and more power to him. This is house money for you, man. And I don't say that in a condescending way. I mean that in the best way possible. Like, if we got house money and we're just rolling, like, let's go, dude. I like the confidence, the vibes, like all that. We got nothing to lose, man. We're the 12 seed. We lost 3 football games, won our conference on a 55-plus yard field goal, and got in this deal. Like, let's go. Also worth noting now, Dabo Swinney, for all of his naysayers, one of the only coaches in this college football playoff field of 12 teams that has a national title to his name. Kirby Smart obviously being the other one in this deal. So I think Clemson, because of the way they got into this thing, is extra dangerous. And Cade Klubnik, now it's worth noting, last time him and Quinn Ewers showed off on a football field in the Texas State Championship, Klubnik, they beat Quinn Ewers. So you wonder if maybe there's a little bit of extra swag, a little bit of extra edge for the folks from Clemson rolling into Austin. Now, for Texas, I mentioned that state title game that I'm sure for Quinn Ewers, you would hope it's a little bit personal. But like for Texas in general, man, I hope it's personal for that operation. Because, and I've told this story a couple times, but I'll tell it again. We sat down with Jahdae Barron, Jim Thorpe Award winner, Jahdae Barron, mind you, at SEC Media Days. And we asked him what the vibe was coming out of last season. Pretty generic question. Hey, how are we feeling going into a new year? Great year last year, moving to the SEC. And he just kept telling us how frustrated he was with how last year went, how they finished. Like I said, I mean, the way he said, he's like, we're pissed. We're pissed off the way it finished. We think we deserve to win a national championship, and we didn't get it done last year. So now, for all that frustration, you have a chance now to host a college football playoff game. You're double-digit point favorites. I hope it's personal. Because for Texas now, the last time we saw them play a personal brand of football, or an edgy brand of football is a better way to say it, against Texas A&M, they looked like the dominant team. They look like a national title caliber kind of team. Do they bring it in this spot? Sure hope so. Sure hope so from a Texas fan. For Clemson, man, I'm excited to see what they do offensively. Because, again, if I'm playing with house money and I got that confidence, like, I am emptying the clip. You hear us say that a lot on this show when it comes to offensive game plans. Garrett Riley, baby. Let's do it. Let's do it. Because as good as Texas is defensively, like, they're one of the best teams when it comes to yards per play allowed. They're one of the best secondaries in America. They're one of the best fronts in America. We got to manufacture explosives, okay? Because when you saw Texas play Georgia in a rock fight and Georgia win that football game, I think if you're a Clemson fan, the fallacy that you could end up believing is, okay, well, if we just keep this thing low scoring and close, like, we got a chance. I think Georgia's a different beast. Like, I think for Clemson, if you end up scoring in the teens, low 20s, I don't think you win this football game. So the players that I look to are the young bucks, Bryant Wesco and TJ Moore. Antonio Williams is your probably best receiver on your team, your most experienced receiver on your team, but those two young bucks are your leaders in yards per reception on Clemson's offense. Both are north of 15 yards per catch. So just what I mentioned a second ago, manufacturing the explosives. I don't think it's a thing where it's like, hey, we got man coverage. We like Bryant Wesco versus Jahdae Barron. Or we like Antonio Williams on Taft. What I want to see is a little bit of the run game to set the table to then have those explosive plays open up downfield. The key card to this whole game plan working in my mind is being versatile in the run game. Now, what do we mean by that? We just want to see a little potluck approach from our guys out there at Clemson. I want to see Maffa. I want to see Cade Klubnik. I want to see the speed sweeps. I want to see the window dressing and the movement to where if I'm Texas, like, we have to trigger quickly because we don't know exactly where this football is going. We got misdirection. We got read option. We got all these things that we have to account for as a defense. And when you have more to account for up front in that box at that point in time, maybe Taft rolls down a little bit quicker from that safety position. And then we got plays downfield and good things are happening. And we look up at the end of the first half. It's like, oh, Clemson's in this thing. Clemson's leading at halftime. That could be a world you could live in and would be a world that you live in, I believe, in large part because of Cade Klubnik and what he does on the ground. I mentioned the quarterback design run game with the versatility in the run game I'd like to see. Straight up, man, I think Cade Klubnik's legs have to be an X factor in the ad-lib game. I think Texas and the way they are built up front will probably speed up that shot clock on him. As good as that secondary is, if Cade Klubnik's able to ad-lib a little bit and break contain, and they get to the what I would call the second play, where, hey, we have it dialed up, we got the right coverage, the right blitz, but Cade Klubnik's out the back door, his eyes are downfield, and we got receivers breaking off routes in the scramble drill, that's the second play where I think Clemson could have a lot of success. So I think you need some of that. Now, Texas has a chance to make all of what I just said nonsense if they can start fast. And I don't mean to oversimplify it, but like Clemson, I think, to win this football game would have to have a spark that fans into a flame that burns into the third quarter. Texas starting fast puts the pressure on Clemson to be a one-trick pony. And what I mean by that is, like, if I'm Quinn Ewers and we come out dialed, baby, like we're up 17-0 end of the second quarter, Clemson then has to go into, we got to throttle mode. Like, we got to start pressing the ball downfield. We have to start opening it up a little bit more. We don't get to have any mystery in our play call. Like, you do, but you don't. Like, at the end of the day, we know you have to be explosive. You got to find points quick, fast, and in a hurry. If that's the way that you live, this Texas defense is far too good to allow you to win a football game in that fashion. So what would that require? The hinge point for us on this show is Quinn Ewers putting it all together, man. And I have waited really since week 2 to see Quinn Ewers from the big house against Michigan again this season. You sort of saw it a little bit against Texas A&M. Now, Quinn Ewers still a bit dinged up, and he had the ankle you hope is in the best spot it's been since it being healthy in this game. If you're going to go ahead and give me like the Quinn Ewers movie, this would be the scene where he puts it all together, where he trots out there and he goes for over 300 yards, no picks, 3 touchdowns, and like Texas is on fire because of him in that sense. I know Arch Manning's going to be a conversation that's had throughout this college football playoff, deservedly so. He adds something extra in the run game. This isn't the Arch Manning game to me. It's not. Like, this is the let's attack that secondary. Let's get all the gears totally greased with our receiving core and have them be a difference maker in this spot because of Quinn Ewers being in rhythm, being on his P's and Q's, and having his best spot in the spot you got to have it, which is the college football playoff with Clemson coming to your spot. So if he's not having that dialed in, the concerning thing for me is, well, then this game is probably a little bit more street fightish. Let's go ahead and say Quinn Ewers in his stat line is somewhere in the 210-yard range. Let's say he's 1 touchdown, 1 pick. You can win with that stat line, but the thing that concerns me is how propped open the door is then for Clemson in that predicament. Because what that probably means is just what I said, Quinn Ewers turned the football over. More importantly, you're playing into the strength of what the Clemson defense is, in my opinion, which is that front seven. They want to trigger quickly. They want to let Peter Woods go eat up front. They want to let Barrett Carter eat up. Like they got dudes now that can legitimately fly to the football and force the issue for you. And also, it keeps Texas from allowing their best part of their offense, in my opinion, the most talented part of their offense, in being able to hurt you downfield. Now, again, what I'm trying to say here is Texas can still win a street fight, but it plays into the hands of what Clemson wants to do if it does, in fact, go that way. The prize pick square I love in this game, Quinn Ewers' passing yard total is set at 263.5. Code hard count, $5 in lineups, $50 in promo funds. It needs to be more. So we'll take the more because it needs to be more for Texas, but like that's the way that I feel about this game when it comes to what you need from Quinn Ewers. So let's walk this through a little bit more. Even if this game goes to the dogs, like even if the ceiling falls in on Texas offensively and we end up in a rock fight where it is a situation where both teams are low 20s heading into the fourth quarter, to me then it goes to, okay, who has the better survival kit? Like, Cade Klubnik's not having the best day if they're in the 20s. Obviously, the receivers aren't doing what I said they need to do to be able to score as much as they want to score. Who do I trust when they're down bad to survive? I look at Texas. Better defense. Texas is number 1 in terms of yards per play allowed. Okay, so they have the better defense. Who can run the ball better? I love Phil Maffa. No way around it. But that Texas A&M game lives pretty vividly in my memory of what Texas did to them, over 180 yards on the ground. Quintravion Wisener had a day and a half. Like, I like Texas to hunker down and run the football. So I pair that idea with what I saw from Clemson against Louisville and what I saw against South Carolina with Clemson not finishing on tackles. Now, Lenore Sellers is special from South Carolina. Don't hear me incorrectly. That's a one of one right there. But I think at the end of the day, what Texas is built like, where they are in the trenches, and then also the experience factor. Sark's been here before. Not in the first round of a 12-team playoff, but they made the playoff last year. Quinn Ewers has been here before. John DeBarion's been here before. There's a certain veteran presence to this roster in this spot at home. There's too much there for me to not take Texas to win and to not take Texas to cover. So we'll take the Longhorns there. And at that point, man, there's not really a big storyline for Texas coming out of this. And that's not to minimize what Clemson is, but like Texas didn't, Quinn Ewers didn't come back for a first-round college football playoff win. Like this wasn't ever the goal for this team. And I'm not trying to, again, like minimize this spot or minimize the opponent, but like for Texas, it's got to be, okay, on to the next, check that box, Arizona State. Let's go get it done. So, again, we'll take Texas to win, Texas to cover, and Steve Sarkisian chasing his own national title as a head coach in the sport.